The lights went out and the crowd went from cheering to worried silence in the middle of the chorus of her biggest song. Miranda Lambert, a country music superstar known for her powerful voice and bold stage presence, had been wowing a sold-out arena with a string of fan favorites. But tonight was different. She stopped in the middle of a line and raised her hand to her throat as if she were looking for a note that had just disappeared. The band stopped playing. A wave of worry went over the crowd. Miranda glanced out at the crowd of faces with wide eyes, then slowly went on one knee, her breath hitching in a way that no fan had ever seen before. At first, murmurs spread like fire. Did she lose her voice? Did she trip? Was it a trick? Cameras turned to her face and caught every tiny sign of agony and perplexity. Backstage monitors showed a panicked stage manager waving his arms around while crew members stood by with towels and water. Over the PA, the arena announcer's voice crackled and strained. "Ladies and gentlemen, please stay calm. We're taking care of Miranda's health, thank you for your patience." The sudden pause in the set list ruined the mood of the party, leaving everyone worried. People took out their phones. People went crazy on social media. Fans took pictures of her hunched over, and tags like #MirandaOK and #SaveMiranda quickly rose to the top of trending lists. The stage became strangely quiet in the next few minutes. The lights in the house came on, revealing rows of shocked concertgoers. Concession stands stopped. Security guards stood along the edge of the stage, ready to help. Finally, paramedics in clean white uniforms rushed on stage and helped Miranda into a wheelchair. They wrapped her in a warm blanket, picked her up off the wooden platform, and rolled her out into the maze of halls behind the curtains. Thousands of people saw her pale, resolute face framed by wet hair as the camera moved around the arena's large displays. Everyone became quiet. Miranda Lambert, who had always been daring and defiant throughout her career, had nothing to sing for the first time. Within a few hours, rumors spread. Some accounts suggested dehydration, while others thought it could be an allergic reaction that happened suddenly or a cardiac problem that hadn't been found yet. The next day, all the entertainment websites had titles like "Miranda Lambert's Scary Collapse" and "What Happened to the Country Queen?" Tabloids said she might be thinking about her famous profession again, while die-hard followers set up prayer threads and digital candle-lighting ceremonies. But in the middle of all the excitement, her publicist put out a short statement: "Miranda had a lot of trouble with her voice last night and is getting medical help. Thank you all for your love," she wrote, "and please give me some space while I heal." This vague statement provided room for both worry and hope, which led to an online whirlwind of speculation and support. Miranda had been sent to a specialized center in Nashville about noon. People close to her said she had been dealing with a sore throat for months. She would lose her notes during late practices, her voice would crack during sound checks, and she would ignore the agony, saying it was just from working too hard. People who were close to her said that her tour schedule was so busy that she seldom had time to rest. In the videos from the next day, she was backstage at the last show, holding her neck with one hand and whispering to a bandmate with the other. But she didn't care. She didn't want to let down the thousands of fans who filled stadiums every night. In her world, there was no pause. Now, it had been forced on her. In a story like this, the setting is important. Miranda Lambert founded her empire on being completely honest and never giving up. She never let health problems get in the way of her determination, whether she was selling out shrines or honky-tonk bars or headlining international venues. She once played at a festival while fighting bronchitis, and her voice cracked and waxed as she electrified the crowd. She made a #1 album while only getting 3 hours of sleep. But at some point, the constant speed had taken its toll. Ironically, the same courage that had helped her get through every problem had brought her to this medical uncertainty. People came together. People who went to her concerts made heart-shaped mosaics of her smiling photos on Instagram and put hopeful messages on top of them, like "We love you, Miranda, hope you're back on your feet soon," and "The stage misses you." Country radio stations added her songs to Get Well Soon playlists, and celebrities sent public Get Well notes. During daytime TV shows, ASL interpreters signed expressions of affection. Even Miranda's most powerful song, "Mama's Broken Heart," changed in tone. Listeners perceived a weakness in her lyrics that they had never heard before. The outpouring showed that the connection between artist and audience is more than just sold-out events, it's a heartbeat of trust. Late at night, the medical team gave her an update. They thought she had a vocal cord hemorrhage, which is when little blood vessels in the throat break after great exertion. It's dangerous for singers since their vocal folds need to be very precise. The doctor said that if you keep playing without taking breaks, you could have lasting harm, such scarring, nodules, or even an injury that ends your career. Miranda's team stressed how serious it was. She needed to rest her voice right away, maybe have surgery, and go through months of therapy. Fans were shocked. It seemed like a tragic twist of fate that a country superstar couldn't sing, which was her most important instrument. Contrast frames often showed deeper truths. Just a week before, they had seen Miranda pour her heart and soul into singing high notes that made their hair stand on end. Her voice rang out across the arena like a flag of rebellion, bringing thousands of people together to sing along. Now, the same instrument lay broken, a reminder that even the strongest fighter has weaknesses. The moment made a universal point. Behind every triumphant roar is a heart that needs to stop, heal, and reset at times. The sudden end of tonight's show taught us something that goes beyond country music. It spoke to anyone who was pushed too hard, refused to calm down, or ignored what their body was telling them. Miranda Lambert's willingness to stop singing in the middle of a song to get urgent care showed the same bravery that made her a great singer. It wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a deep admission that one's own health is more important than any stage or audience. Fans held on to the notion that the woman who created songs about strength would soon make another successful comeback as rumors spread about her recovery plan. In a few hours, her team would say that the tour was being pushed back, that the itinerary had changed, and that they would come back stronger than before. But tonight, the story was that moment of silence when the arena went quiet, the lights went out, and a superstar said she needed to relax. It was a reminder that even the brightest star needs to take a break before shining again. The day after Miranda's fall, the Nashville arena felt weirdly empty as crews took down stages and loaded amplifiers into trucks. But there was still something in the air, a collective breath caught between heartbeats. Word got around that Miranda's management team had confirmed her diagnosis, a vocal cord hemorrhage so bad that she needed treatment right away and complete rest. Doctors said that making her come back too soon could cause irreversible scarring on her vocal folds, which could end her career. Miranda's life revolved around her voice, which was like a perfectly tuned instrument that had been sculpted by years of touring. That magnificent gift now needed quiet. Miranda reclined on silky cushions in her luxurious tour bus, which was parked outside the Nashville clinic. Her phone was silent except for the odd buzz of supportive texts. She looked up at the ceiling and thought of the first time her coach showed her vocal exercises. At first, they felt strange, but they became spiritual rituals. She stopped to think of her first shows at Little Honky Tonks where there was no sound engineer to check her levels. She had to stretch her vocal cords to be heard over the raucous crowd. She used to laugh off sore throats as signs of strength. But because of their age and the stress they had been under, those badges were now dangerous. Miranda's family and friends came together to support her. Owen, her longtime guitarist, brought a selection of calming instrumentals and sat next to her in the clinic room to keep her company. Miranda's sister Samantha came over with homemade chicken soup, which made Miranda think of the afternoons they used to spend cooking together before school talent contests. They watched the dismal sky pour rain through the glass, as if the heavens shared their sad attitude. Miranda felt the full weight of her choices for the first time in a long time, to push through pain, to ignore warnings, and to adopt a no-quit attitude. Now, letting go was the hardest thing she'd ever done. At the same time, social media was still a mess. Video clips of Miranda's collapse went viral with hashtags like #StayStrongMiranda and #VocalHealthMatters. Artists delivered meaningful notes. Dolly Parton posted a picture of herself backstage paying tribute. Luke Combs made a video asking fans to give money to charity that help with vocal health. Country radio stations spent whole hours talking about wellness with speech pathologists. Even celebs who aren't country singers got involved. Beyoncé's team tweeted tips on how to rest your voice and stay hydrated, showing that all singers have delicate instruments. There was a live-streamed press conference planned for noon. Miranda appeared on tape in a plain white t-shirt, with her hair pulled back and her expression clear and determined. There were a lot of reporters in the virtual seats as she spoke to the globe with calm ease. She remarked, "I'm learning the hard way that sometimes the only way to move forward is to slow down." Only once did her voice crack, which was a painful reminder of the road ahead. She told him about her recovery plan: 6 weeks of complete vocal rest, daily speech therapy sessions, slowly bringing back singing under medical supervision, and possibly microsurgery if needed. She smiled warmly after that, offering love to her fans. She ended by saying, "Your support means more than I can say." In the hours that followed, those in the industry wondered how it might affect Miranda's tour. Would she have to change dozens of dates? Could other singers fill stadiums on evenings that were formerly dedicated for her anthems? Promoters rushed to work out refunds or new reservations, but fans hung onto their tickets with little faith. But many people said they understood: better a full recovery than a quick comeback that could cause permanent damage. A fan who really cared wrote, "I'll wait 1,000 shows for Miranda's voice to come back stronger than ever." Miranda's music video for Bluebird played over and over again in the backroom of a local radio station while the DJs talked about the medical details of vocal hemorrhages. They talked about how fast vocal fold closure during strong belts might break capillaries, generating a blood pocket that leaks into nearby tissue. If the bleeding isn't stopped, it might lead to calluses or cysts that need to be surgically removed. Even though the talk was about technical things, it turned into a public service announcement. Fans learned how important it is to warm up, stay hydrated, and get enough sleep, things that were only known to pros before. That afternoon, Miranda's boss set up a surprise: a live-streamed acoustic performance by her bandmates of Tin Man and Little Red Wagon as a way to recover. Miranda watched in silence, but tears filled her eyes as she muttered the words. It was a touching reminder of how much she meant to her fans. A singer's presence was so strong that even when she wasn't there, it felt like a concert. The event earned money for the Throat Health Foundation and promised to provide the money other artists who had comparable injuries. The support made a very important point stronger: no star is alone when it comes to health. Miranda let herself take a short walk around the clinic's garden as the sun went down. The cold fall air mixed with the smell of lavender from planters nearby. She held a cup of decaf tea in her hands and walked carefully over the meandering trails. Every breath felt like a gift, and every step felt like a choice. She thought about the lyrics she had written about being strong and starting over, and she realized that those words were true for her life now. The artist who used to teach others how to mend shattered hearts had to remember how to do it herself. A choice came to her in the peace of that garden. She wouldn't hurry back on stage when she got back unless she had a plan for long-term health. She would support voice health and work to make sure that performers are safe by advocating for industry standards. Her tour, which had been on hold, would start up again, but this time it would be a slow marathon instead of a furious sprint, with passion and preservation in mind. When she finally raised the mic again, it would be with a voice that was formed from wisdom, not tiredness. Miranda returned to Nashville in late November and moved into a rebuilt rehearsal space that was made for her recuperation. The huge amplifiers and bright stage lights were gone. Instead, there were padded floorboards, soft ambient lamps, and a Steinway grand piano. She would start over from scratch to reconnect with music here. Dr. Elena Ramirez, a world-famous speech pathologist who helped Miranda with every step, led careful vocal warm-ups every morning. Their sessions included mild humming scales, excellent breath control, and resonance exercises that didn't put any stress on her healing cords. Miranda wrote about how she felt between workouts, noting periods of perfect clarity, brief tremors, and surprise bursts of natural power. She wrote these thoughts down in a leather-bound book, which showed not only how her technical skills were improving but also how her way of thinking was changing from perform at all costs to honor my voice. By December, her team had put together a complete wellness plan. Nutritionist Lena Clark made anti-inflammatory menus that included a lot of leafy greens, drinks with turmeric, and slow-cooked broths. Malik Thompson, a qualified yoga teacher, provided lunchtime classes that focused on posture, diaphragmatic breathing, and mild stretches to help Miranda's neck and shoulders relax. Dr. Raj Patel, a physical therapist, used craniosacral therapy to help reduce the edema around her larynx that was still there. Each discipline helped the others, making a web of support that kept her instruments safe, both vocal and emotional. Miranda loved every part of it and was amazed that a singer's career could be as much about mindset and self-care as it was about raw talent. She took comfort in the synergy. The same attention she had put into writing songs now helped her health. Miranda came up with ways to stay in touch with her followers while she was recovering. Instead of regular meet and greets, she held weekly live streams called silent sessions. From her private studio, she answered questions about rehabilitation, showed viewers how to practice gentle vocal techniques, and gave them a look at her daily life behind the scenes. Fans sent messages of support, including homemade medicines, quotes that inspired them, and art that celebrated Miranda's strength. Each stream brought together people who cared about each other more than how well they did. She converted quiet into music by showing her weakness and allowing everyone to develop their own strong voices. Tens of thousands of people watched, showing that her presence was important even when she wasn't singing. In the middle of January, she shocked audiences with a Little Whispered Hymns pop-up concert. Miranda sang select verses of her most sensitive songs at half volume while sitting at a grand piano in a cozier Nashville chapel famed for its acoustics. She gave powerful performances that kept the audience fascinated with just a microphone and beautiful amber lighting. No fireworks, no band, just the raw sound of her voice coming back to life. Every note felt like a win, and every lyric felt like a win. People who were listening filmed the moment on their smartphones, but they also put them down and just listened. Reviews pointed out the huge difference. The same songs that used to get people singing along in stadiums now sounded like private confessions, showing how absence makes the heart grow fonder. Miranda and her producers changed the Heartland Revival tour since it was so successful. They thought of each date as a smaller venue with only 2,000 fans per show, which made the mood more intimate. Sets were cut down to 90 minutes, with regular breaks in between when she performed tiny vocal resets off stage. There were herbal infusions at the hydration stations, and each ticket came with a pamphlet that told the story of Miranda's recovery. Her colleagues changed their arrangements to include acoustic breaks, which made the instrumental breaks into quiet breaks for her voice. This new model traded ticket sales for steady pace, but box office receipts stayed strong, proof that good design and real care could make money. Miranda started Voices United, a foundation that promotes voice health for musicians, when spring came. The charity worked with top medical centers to give artists who needed special care free workshops, digital toolkits, and grant money. She started a social media campaign with the hashtag #VocalVanguard that asked other singers to share their self-care routines. The project got a lot of attention across genres. Pop singers took part, Broadway actors recorded warm-up videos, and music schools added Miranda's modules to their classes. She changed the story by turning her own struggles into a way to help others. Instead of being hush-hush, voice injuries became something people could talk about openly. Miranda was ready for her triumphant homecoming after 6 months of treatment. On a lovely morning in April, the news came, a special one-night-only live broadcast from Nashville's famous Ryman Auditorium. Fans had to sign up for free tickets, which made sure that everyone could watch the stream. Backstage, soothing light made her feel relaxed. She went onto the stage in a plain white blouse and comfortable suede boots. This was the costume of an artist who had come back to life. She took deep breaths as the camera was rolling, thanking herself for every lesson she had learnt. Then she started to sing, first in a whisper and then in a steady crescendo that rose without effort. The crowd cheered, not just for the music, but also for the trip that brought her back. The night of the live broadcast came like a modest victory. Thousands of people from all across the world watched from their homes, theaters, and phones. The varnish on the benches and the brilliance of the stage lights made the Ryman Auditorium feel like a holy place as cameras panned over the historic boards. Miranda Lambert walked up to the old microphone with a calm breath. She was wearing a modest slate blue blouse and dark denim. There were no backup singers or a band behind her on the church pulpit model. Only audio engineers were there to make sure every note reached the audience. When she started singing her first song, The House That Built Me, her voice had a refined delicacy that suggested she had gotten a lot of rest and her tissues had healed and her chords had gotten stronger. At that point, the well-known country singer became more than just a celebrity, she became an artist who was in touch with her work. It felt like each song that came after was planned. In the middle of Tin Man, she stopped to offer a quiet thought about lobster tears, which was a tribute to how she now sees vulnerability. She was honest about how lonely it was to be silent for 6 weeks, saying that she had moments of uncertainty. But she used each line as a marker, honoring the healing road instead of complaining about the past. As she sang a lengthy note of Vice, technical close-ups showed that her eyes were wet. Every breath she took was a practice in breath control, and every breath she let out showed the benefits of medical advice. It was a masterclass in both skill and emotion, a close-up look at how quiet changes sound. People who work in the industry watched in astonishment. Music critics got on the live stream with pens ready. Tweets were full of praise for the bravery shown in every line. By midnight, Rolling Stone had written a glowing editorial that called the transmission a defining moment in live music, where patience met performance. Trade magazine said that the show's acoustic nature will lead to a surge of smaller, wellness-friendly performances. Within hours, audio engineers contacted Miranda's team to ask for technical specifications and artist setups. This one-night event started a whole new movement, mindful touring. At the same time, Miranda's label said they were going to do a live album right away from the broadcast. The project, called Quiet Return, would have detailed notes about her vocal recovery, inputs from Dr. Elena Ramirez, and images of padded studio walls taken behind the scenes. As fans wanted a physical reminder of her comeback, pre-orders skyrocketed. At the same time, country and folk networks' curated streaming playlists included the broadcast music to the top editorial rotations. The House That Built Me shot back up the download rankings, proving that realness sells. The rebound proved what the charts said, being vulnerable sells, but only when it comes from real life. In terms of charity, Miranda's Voices United Foundation got money from the live record and the tour that followed it. During the show, a brief interlude projection asked fans to provide money, and her label matched any donations. By morning, the fund had surpassed its original goal, allowing grants for scholarships and contributions of equipment to music programs that don't get enough funding. Students in rural Alaska, inner-city Philadelphia, and remote Australian outback towns were among those who got grants. People wrote in to praise Miranda for bringing attention to areas that don't get enough help. Teachers said that children were more interested in voice health again, and they credited her campaign for making speech therapy less stigmatized. Miranda went back to a meticulously planned program that included recording sessions, modest fan gatherings, and workshops for her foundation in the weeks that followed. She recorded demos for her new album, which she is calling Rise Again for now. Not only did songs like New Roots and Silver Voice tell the story of her recovery, but they also showed how her work had changed over time. She worked with composers to add elements of vocal health to the songs, making sure that the next chapter of her career would reflect what she learned in 2025. People in the industry noticed that she was creating songs with more energy, which they saw as a sign of creative rebirth. Her producers called the process a metastory, which means writing songs about healing while going through it themselves. Miranda's journey from failure to success changed what people expect from traveling performers. Concert promoters changed the language in contracts to include required health breaks, and managers started adding vocal health conditions to writers. Doctors said they were getting more calls from touring musicians looking for preventive treatment. Dr. Ramirez got calls from music institutions asking for collaborative clinics at colleges. Even marketing teams changed their focus to putting the health of artists front and center as a selling point. In an industry that formerly rewarded relentless ambition, Miranda's path revealed a new paradigm: sustained artistry. Miranda realized that music had always been both her safe place and her strength as she thought about her path. Her art stayed strong through every struggle, which shows how powerful it is to keep going. Now, she was excited about new opportunities, sure that her voice would continue to touch many hearts. Months after the Quiet Return broadcast, Miranda Lambert started the next leg of the Heartland Revival Tour, this time in bigger theaters and mid-size arenas, but using the same successful model. Every night started with a 5-minute vocal warm-up demonstration that was shown on the large screens so that spectators could join in real time. There were breaks every 3 songs, and backstage and in VIP lounges there were special hydration stations with herbal teas and electrolyte blends. The tour buses included built-in humidifiers to keep the air in hotel rooms clean, and a professional speech pathologist went with the crew. The stage lighting cues featured soft reminders for Miranda to stop between lyrics, and every set selection was crafted to blend fast-paced anthems with slow acoustic lullabies. Even if the number of seats available for each event went down, box office sales stayed the same. This shows that people cared more about her health than the volume. Miranda released her new studio album, Rise Again, in the spring. She recorded it at the Nashville cottage where she had been recovering, which had a hammock. The album's opening song, New Roots, and its closing ballad, Silver Voice, both dealt with themes of renewal, self-reflection, and thankfulness. Brandy Clark, a professional songwriter, worked with Miranda on the song Healing Hands. The chorus they wrote together had an unexpected gospel bridge, which was a tribute to the choir who helped Miranda heal. Producers added field recordings from the tour's acoustic pop-ups, like gentle crowd noise and distant applause, to remind listeners that these songs were made in public places. Rise Again rocketed to the top of the country charts and got good reviews for its honest lyrics and polished singing. Critics called it a triumph of art over adversity and the album that changed Miranda Lambert's legacy. In the meantime, people in the industry started talking about making the vocal health rules she came up with official. Her manager added the Miranda Lambert Vocal Care Addendum, a typical writer language that was suggested by top agencies and lawyers. It set limitations on how many hours of rehearsal could be done, required rest days, and made sure that both headliners and opening acts had access to speech therapists on site. Radio programmers held roundtable discussions about vocal fatigue, and lawyers in the music business marketed similar terms to their clients. Trade periodicals wrote about sustainable touring models, using Miranda's method as an example. Even pop and rock bands wanted to hear from Dr. Ramirez, and they invited him to speak at their artist retreats. The idea of wellness-first touring started to catch on, giving musicians hope that they might keep their passion and performance quality without sacrificing their health or lifespan. Voices United grew to become a global effort on the charitable front. The organization started its first international grant program, giving scholarships for voice therapy classes to students in Uganda, India, and Brazil. Part of the money came from a deal with a big microphone maker, which agreed to provide a percentage of sales from signature Miranda Lambert models to the cause. Thousands of people, from amateur singers to experienced broadcasters, came to Voices United webinars to get advice on technique and self-care. Workshops brought together medical professionals and experienced performers to talk to each other across fields. Social media ambassadors told experiences of young artists who averted injuries that may have ended their careers because too early intervention. Miranda's personal aim had grown into a global movement that turned people's problems into a resource for creative groups. Miranda was able to find a balance between her public life and her private recovery through it all. She invited close friends and family to small album release parties, where she played unreleased acoustic demos over a fire pit that crackled. She and her sister Samantha made a bonus track for Rise Again called Sisterhood and Support, which is a sweet duet about being there for one another. Brendan, her husband, became a strong advocate at charity events, speaking with her about how important mental health is along with vocal health. They didn't write songs in neon studios late at night, they did it at home on a porch swing, where their family dogs would paw at their feet and insects would act as a natural tempo. These times filled her with energy and inspired her creativity, reminding her that the power of music comes from real connections, not grandiosity. As summer drew near, Miranda concluded the Heartland Revival Tour with a 4-night engagement at Nashville's Ryman Auditorium. This time, she had a 4-piece backing band and better acoustics, but she still had to stick to her rest-first regimen. Every night, she sang a song for the theater crew and medical staff who were there, bringing attention to the people who help actors behind the scenes. She gave a touching address at the close of the last event, saying, "Thank you for walking this path with me and learning that sometimes the bravest thing an artist can do is listen to her body and rest. More than a gift, my voice is a duty. I promise to honor it and help you honor yours." The audience gave her a standing ovation, which echoed a lesson in resilience that went beyond any one performance. On the last night of the Heartland Revival Tour's Nashville residency, the lights dimmed to a soft amber glow as Miranda Lambert walked onto the stage in a simple linen dress. The crowd stood up not just to greet the performer, but to celebrate a journey of recovery that changed every note she sang. Her voice, which used to be weak, now had a warm, confident tone that showed she had learned tolerance, care, and new insight. She started with New Roots, and each phrase settled into the quiet audience like a secret that friends shared. She stopped midway through and said, "This tour started as an experiment in sustainability, a test of how much we care about our voices and our health. I've learned that art grows when we take care of ourselves as well as our work." A wave of applause went through the auditorium, showing real feeling instead of just a show. As the show went on, old guitars and new synths danced together in a carefully planned light show that didn't use harsh strobes. During Golden Hour, she brought several of her road crew on stage for a quiet breakdown, showing everyone the people who work behind the scenes at every event. They played tambourines and hand drums together, which was a real reminder that music needs many hands and hearts. She remarked, "Tonight we honor the invisible champions, sound engineers, lighting techs, and medical staff whose work often goes unrecognized." When the last note of Silver Voice rang out, the audience lit up the auditorium with their phone flashlights instead of lighters. It looked like a galaxy of thanks. Miranda closed her eyes and let the moment breathe before singing her last song, a moving acoustic rendition of If I Die Young, which she had changed to be about how fragile and strong life is. The show didn't feel like entertainment, it felt more like a monument to how strong people are. After the encore, she took the stage with Dr. Elena Ramirez and launched a permanent scholarship for voice health at Vanderbilt University's Music College. "Let this be my legacy," she said, making sure that every artist has the tools to protect their greatest gift. Fans shouted as the foundation's board members handed out the first checks to aspiring artists in the front row. This was a symbolic gesture of hope. Critics called the tour's grand conclusion a cultural milestone. There were magazine covers with headlines like "Protecting the Voice, Miranda's Revolution and Wellness on Tour, the Model for the Future." There were also TV specials that looked back at her change, showing footage of her collapse alongside footage of her successes from the Ryman broadcast and Heartland revival shows. Even seasoned touring artists started asking for her team's writer clauses to be added to their own contracts, which was a huge change in industry standards. Miranda stepped up to the mic one last time as the lights went down for the last time. She held her breath and whispered, "Thank you for walking with me every step of the way. For all of us who make music, this isn't the end, it's the beginning of a new chapter. May we always listen to our bodies and honor our voices." With that, she kissed the microphone, bowed deeply, and walked into the dark, where the ovation was so loud that it seemed to last forever. Miranda's impact went beyond music in the weeks that followed. Her tour model was used by wellness retreats for performers, speech pathology programs got more money, and even corporate wellness teams asked her to give keynote speeches at conferences on how to stay healthy while working. She ended up teaching young artists how to balance their dreams with taking care of themselves. She told her story through podcasts, from the wake of tragedy to the triumph of recovery, emphasizing that hardship can be a crucible for growth. Miranda is working on a documentary series about vocal health and getting ready for her Rise Again 2 tour. She is still keeping her promise to treat her voice with care, compassion, and gratitude. Every stage, every rehearsal room, and every note now show how serious you are about that. Her narrative serves as a reminder to everyone, in country music and beyond, that strength is not just about power, but also about the bravery to stop, heal, and come back stronger than before. Every day, her strength inspires performers all across the world.